All right.
Here
A
we
new
go.
episode.
Another ride.
Yeah. With Rosie Tran, stand-up comedian, show host, author, LA resident.
Yeah, this was fun. I really enjoyed this. You definitely do not want to be listening to this in your car if you're driving with the child in the back seat. But it's what a beautiful, funny, amazing, talented, smart, insightful, just amazing woman for sure.
Yeah, very bubbly, kind, warm energy. Yep.
And we know you're going to enjoy this for sure. Please subscribe. Please donate to our friends over at Blast and at the Compton Cowboys. And kick back and enjoy the ride.
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Bestuur zeker wegen dem.
Wil je iets niet, joh?
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
And we're live with another episode of Moped Outlaws. And our guest writer today is Rosie Tran, who is a stand-up comic, entertainer, podcast host, and
author.
And a meditator. Author? Yeah. Welcome, Rosie.
You forgot OnlyFans girl.
Oh,
really?
I didn't know that part.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's start there.
Sure.
I didn't know you could do comedy on OnlyFans.
You guys warned me that you like to push boundaries, so let's start there.
Well, I didn't know you could do comedy on OnlyFans.
So I don't, but actually OnlyFans does have a comedy special series called LMFAO. I'm not a part of it. I don't know how to get on it. But Whitney Cummings is on OnlyFans. They are trying to transition away from adult content. They actually had an adult content ban for I think a week, and then the fans rebelled. And we're like, no. And so
I know if I had an OnlyFans, it would be a laugh. It would be a comedy.
So they switched back to allowing adult content, but my OnlyFans profile is not stand-up. It's actually modeling. And if you guys care to hear about that story.
Is it fetish-based?
It's not. It's just me being an old lady.
Wow. All right.
Beautiful.
And people are paying you for that.
They are.
Nice.
Nice. So I've always modeled, and I was posting my modeling stuff on Instagram for free. Because my OnlyFans is PG-17. It's not that crazy. And I was posting stuff on Instagram for free. I wanted to do OnlyFans forever and do stand-up on OnlyFans. But then my husband was against it, not because of the content of OnlyFans, but because I've had a lot of comedy stalkers. And so he thought going on OnlyFans would take it to a whole nother level. And he's like, do you want to open this door? And I was like, well, do I want to keep posting stuff on Instagram for free? So right. I started posting it on OnlyFans and getting paid for it. And now he's like, yeah, post more.
This is
maybe
great.
We should push some boundaries.
He's like, let's post more stuff. Yeah. He's like, let's do it. So, I mean, it was stuff I was posting on social media for free anyway. So now I'm just getting compensated for it.
Now, you are first generation Vietnamese. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And Mark and I, we went to your website, and you have fan art, and prominent upper left corner is the nude painting by a gentleman in NOLA, where you used to live. So I'm wondering, how did you come to this place of being very comfortable in your body?
That took a long time. And so I grew up actually in a very conservative Vietnamese family, and I was quite shamed for a very long time. Something that I learned much later in life in Vietnamese culture is that, and it sounds like psychological abuse, but Vietnamese people are very superstitious, and something that they do is that they don't ever want to compliment kids, there's a like a mythology that so they're very spiritual and they're very superstitious. And so there's this idea that if you compliment kids too much, like the bad spirits will like know it's a good kid, right? And try to like harm them. And so also something you should probably tell your kids when they're little, like, hey, we're not just psychologically torturing you, but we think you're really awesome and we don't want you to get a big head and we don't want evil spirits to kill you.
We're just a little worried about something.
So
no need for you to be scared though.
Exactly. So I didn't even know that I also grew up in the South. I grew up in New Orleans. The standard for beauty was like blonde, hair, blue eyes, big boobs. And I was very petite, very small, very dark little Vietnamese girl. So I actually had absolutely no idea. I thought I was hideous. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was disgusting. And I started actually posting on my OnlyFans when I turned 40. I'm 42 now because I was like, you know what? I'm going to die. I'm going to get disgusting and saggy. So why the heck not? So that's, if that answers your question, Greg. I'm just having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, but
welcome to the party.
But I imagine that you posed nude for the artists that are on the fan art page. Yeah.
I only have one nude photograph, and it's I did not pose for my artist. I gave him a photo, I think. Okay. And I never have posed nude ever. I think my husband took it with an iPhone because I wanted to emulate that Matisse photo that's in the corner.
Right.
And so I sent him like another photo, and I like kind of looked like fat. So I was like, can you just like, I wanted to do an odalisque painting, which is basically a reclining nude. Because I was a big fan of those, when I was studying art history. So I just had my husband take a quick selfie of it or shot of it. And we texted him, and I asked him to please be respectful and delete it once he was done. So he just painted it off of a photo. So to answer your question, Greg, I'm not comfortable with my body at all. And I just like sent him a photo and was like, please make me look skinny and hot and then delete this photo right now when you're done painting.
Right. Even though we've opened up the show with all about your body.
I love your daring and your willingness to go into spaces that might be a little bit uncomfortable for yourself, and how rich and rewarding that can be for people. So do you feel like comedy is also kind of exposing parts of yourself?
I think yes and no. So there's this huge stereotype that comedy is extremely vulnerable, and it is, but it's also not. Like, people don't understand like how controlling comedy is. Like when you're doing good comedy, like an actual comedy show, not like a bar show, the lights are down and the spotlight's on you, and the crowd is kind of this like amorphic being, and people don't understand that type of voyeuristic atmosphere creates people to become into a group think. And so it's very easy to, I don't want to say it's very easy. It's easier to control a crowd than if I was having an intimate conversation with you, Mark, in your home. You're very individual, right? You're an individual. But once you become part of the group like that, a crowd, there's certain things that happen in your brain, actually. This is why, when people are watching a movie and it's in the dark and they have this screen, certain emotions come out. People cry in a movie during sad parts when they maybe normally wouldn't cry over something like that. And it's because you come into this kind of, it sounds really woo-woo, but like a beta state. And so it's much easier to interact with a crowd than it is an individual person in that dynamic. Obviously, if you're like at a protest with a crowd, that's a different dynamic than if you're at a comedy club with the lights low and everything like that. And so it's like fake vulnerability. Like, yes, I do jokes that are very vulnerable and talking about my gay brother, talking about my family, talking about, I have like domestic violence jokes. Like, I'm talking about things that are really vulnerable, but there's actually like this protective shell around you because the crowd becomes kind of this like amorphous being that doesn't really have its own brain. I know that sounds like horrible, But it's like when you see comics doing crowd work or see comics that look like they're improvising and people are like, oh my God, they're so brilliant. They're coming up with all this stuff on the fly. It's like they're absolutely not coming up with anything on the fly whatsoever.
Yeah, these are seasoned techniques that they've learned from hypnotists and charlatans.
Yes. You got it. It's true. It's kind of like magic, right? It's like you watch a magician, you go, oh my God, that's amazing. And it's like, you know, another magician is like, okay, that's like so stupid.
Right. Oh, how did you decide you were funny? What was the experience that like led you to realize that this was a thing to do? And how did you bridge the gap between, I don't know how to do this and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this?
Okay, so you guys are lucky because you have, and this is not me bragging, you guys have a unicorn. And what I mean by that, on your podcast, and what I mean by that is every single comedian I've ever met, and I've met thousands and thousands of comedians, have some version of a very similar story. And the story is usually, I always knew I was funny, or I would watch Carson growing up, or I'd watch Leno growing up, and I always knew I wanted to be a comedian. I never knew I wanted to be a comedian. I had no idea what stand-up comedy was. I was like the shyest person in the entire world. Everyone that I know growing up is like, she became a comedian? So,
right.
Like, I loved comedy growing up for sure, but I didn't know what stand-up comedy was. I loved comedy movies. So I would watch, you know, silly movies all the time with me and my sister. So I think that I had very early on the comedy writing in my brain, because we would go to these comedy movies in New Orleans and the theater would be packed and a funny thing would happen. And sometimes me and my sister were like the only people laughing. And I'm like, do these people not get that that's a joke? Like, hello. So I think I had that in the back of my head. But when I was 16, I was dating a guy who wanted to be a comedian. And he would take me to these open mics. And I was like the angry girlfriend sitting in the back with her arms crossed. Like, this is so dumb. And he was like, oh, I want to be a stand-up or I want to be a screenwriter. And I was like, screenwriter? I was like, what is stand-up? What is this? Right? I was like, you need to find a real job. This is like not real. I was like the biggest hater. I was like, get a job. This is dumb. What are you doing?
Wow.
And he was like, well, you know, why don't you write 5 minutes of stand-up? Because you're always sitting in the back of the room with your arms crossed and you look miserable. And at least you'll have something to talk to with the other comics about. And I was like, that's so dumb. And then I would give him little tips. I would say, okay, well, why don't you write the joke like this or say the joke like this? Because it's obviously funnier. And he would try, you know, to do it the way I told him, and he'd always get a bigger laugh. So that was, I think, the start of it. And then we moved to Los Angeles together after high school. And I wanted to do something in the entertainment industry, but I thought like behind the scenes, like be an agent or a manager or something. And then he cheated on me and with a dominatrix.
Oh dear. Welcome to LA.
Exactly, right. And I was in LA. I had no friends. I had no family. And the only thing I had ever known was going to open mics. So he had planted that seed in my mind. Well, why don't you write 5 minutes if you think you're so funny? He was like, well, why don't you write 5 minutes? And so I had that seed planted in my mind. And I was like, well, what would I talk about? And I was like, you know what? This is so ridiculous. I'm like not a comedian. I'm so shy. I would never do stand up. But the jokes kind of started writing themselves in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. And because I had nothing else to do, right? I was like here with no one, with no family, no friends. And I was like, well, maybe I would talk about this, or maybe I would talk about that, or, well, this is kind of a funny thing that happened to me. And then I just really missed going to open mic. I'm like, I kind of miss going to open mic and watching all the comics and watching them work stuff out. So I went to my first open mic, and I wasn't hilarious because nobody's hilarious their first like 5 years, and anyone that tells you they are is a liar or delusional. But I was so insanely comfortable on stage, and like I had no fear of the stage, which was really bizarre because I was so shy. And I just felt so the second I stepped on stage, and I had like, I think I just did 3 minutes, and it was like really stupid. It was, I can't even remember what I talked about, but I was so insanely comfortable that I was like, oh, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And that's the start of it.
And so you just kept refining it, working your 5 until you start being funny.
I just started, I had blind stupidity and blind fearlessness on my side because I had no idea what I was doing. And I think that's how you should do everything in life, because I just had no fear. Like, and I had no, like I don't know what it's called when you have like an idea in your mind, like a stereotype, I don't know. I just had no idea in my mind. And it was the biggest blessing, because all the other comics that I started with, and any new comic that you'll ever see, they have, what is it called? They're very influenced, right? So if someone is a big Eddie Murphy fan, when they start doing stand-up, you can tell their stand-up is very influenced by Eddie Murphy. You can just tell. If someone is very, Dane Cook influenced, or, Bert Kreischer influenced, or whoever your influence is, Steve Martin, you can just tell their writing style, until they find their own voice. Well, I had no voice. I had no stand-up influence. So I had nothing. I just had me. And so that's what I mean by I'm a unicorn, because I've talked to every single comic I know. They have this story of, oh, well, I would watch Eddie Murphy Raw, and I would watch Steve Martin. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, well, this is funny to me, so I'm going to talk about it. So I had no, idea in my mind except for, well, this is what's funny to me. And so I don't think my style of stand-up is like uniquely original or anything, but I didn't spend 5 years trying to break out of a stereotype of what I thought was funny, which is what every comic does when they start. They go, oh, I love Richard Pryor, so I'm going to copy Richard Pryor until I find my own voice.
Mm.
Do you find that, are you still in LA right now?
Yes.
So is there, like, in my mind, the Comedy Store is sort of the pinnacle of club performing in the comedy world. And is it a clique like then? Is it hard to get into the Comedy Store like, you've been almost 2 decades of stand-up, right?
2+ decades.
What? Okay. So yeah, you are seasoned. Like you said, you've gotten through that first 5 years of, what's the scene like to play a place like Comedy Store?
So I played the Comedy Store many times. It's definitely changed and evolved over the years. I don't know. I think, when I moved here and I was performing at the Comedy Store, it was a very, very dark place. I think it's still a very dark place. What I mean by that is, so when I started performing at the Comedy Store, Mitzi was dying, and it had been her kind of, oasis. And everyone always told me, oh, Mitzi would have loved you. Mitzi would have loved you. I never got to see her perform for her. She was, I think she had dementia or Alzheimer's, and she was actively dying when I started going there. And the way people often describe it is the inmates were running the asylum when I got there. So it was quite chaotic. There was a lot going on, and it was a very toxic environment, especially for women. It was very, very toxic. Very male dominated, and very much like a bro comedy scene. It's changed quite a bit, but it still has, I think, a little bit, they always say the Comedy Store is cursed, and you can feel that energy when you go there, if that answers your question. I don't know if it does.
So it sounds like this place that we all identify as one of the hubs of the comedy world in LA isn't so much. What places did you find that were the right spots, and how did you nurture your career? And what spaces did you sort of get to really get your feet under you?
Well, people really look down on the comedy scene in LA. I don't know if you guys know this. Like, New York is supposed to be the hubbub of stand-up comedy, right? There's 13 or 18 stand-up comedy clubs on one island, and you can take the train and do 7 spots a night. And so everyone kind of looks up to New York as this mecca of stand-up comedy, the Comedy Cellar and all this other stuff. LA is kind of looked down as a place where people or comics go where when they want to sell out or they want to get famous. And I actually disagree with that. There's so many comedy clubs here. There's the Ice House, there's the Laugh Factory. There's like 3 Laugh Factories. You have access to Vegas where there's like 1 million, comedy spots. There's the Comedy Store. There's like 1,000 open mics. There's 1,000 little rooms. There's just multiple meccas of stand-up comedy, multiple comedy teachers that are like world renowned who have written books, done series. I would have moved out of this hell-forsaken place if it wasn't for the amount of comedy that's here. I can do an open mic and like 5 celebrities will like walk in and do drop-in spots. So I don't think that you need the Comedy Store to make it in Los Angeles. I don't think you need the Comedy Store to become an amazing comic. There was like a bar show I used to do with free popcorn where, Eric Griffin used to drop in all the time and do like spots. And he's from a Comedy Central show that I'm blanking on right now. And he's a pretty big touring act. So, I mean, you can just go anywhere and there's like amazing comedy. It's pretty awesome.
What do you think of this new realm of like Kill Tony and the roasts where there's this undercurrent of barbs and, sort of, like you say, dark comedy?
So I love dark comedy. That's where I really started and thrived. And I know Tony Hinchcliffe, and I was a Death Squad girl, and I was on their show, Pasadena Chronicles, Ice House Chronicles podcast, and all their podcasts for many years. And I love dark comedy. I'm actually very, very sad that we've gone so far woke that everything's offensive. I've never been an offensive comedian my entire life. And the past few years, I've been getting oohs and ahs in my material, which is like shocking because I'm like not offensive at all.
Well,
you can do bald white guy jokes. They're still safe.
I love dark humor. I think that's the point of stand-up, is to make fun of dark, evil stuff and lighten it. That's why they call it making light of something heavy. And I just think that this whole woke era, I think, is kind of not really understanding the point of progressive ideologies. It's just very bizarre, and it's really, really, really scary.
Don't you think? Like, I heard Anthony Jeselnik talking about this woke thing, and he said, "You're just not doing your job if you're a comic, and that's your excuse." Do you feel like, in essence, that's your responsibility as a comic to be funny?
It is your responsibility, but I also think audiences have become more sensitive, hypersensitive, and they want to be in the right, I'm using quotations, right side of history by not getting offended at things that are racial or that are uncomfortable or that are insensitive. And I think that that's a crime to humanity and a crime to laughter. I mean, the point, I don't know. I was going down, it's weird because I'm a very bubbly, positive person, but I was going down that very, very kind of New York dark. Like, I was supposed to be an intern on the Opie and Anthony show. I don't know if you guys know who that is. Yeah, I was supposed to be their intern, and they actually ended up nixing me because they were really worried about me suing, not because I would sue anyone, but because I'm a woman, and they were concerned about having a woman intern and the implications of that. But I mean, I was going to be, when I was 20 years old, I was going to be the intern on Opie and Anthony show. So I am very familiar with that kind of like dark, edgy stand-up world, and I was totally fine with it and loved it. And I think that's the best comedy, when you can take something really dark and edgy. The problem, I think, with this whole Kill Tony world is that I think Kill Tony is a response to kind of all the woke PC-ness, and that's fine. But now there's all these comics that are coming out of nowhere that are also not funny, and they're just saying like edgy things and being like, look, I'm edgy. And I'm saying, I said, whatever, and it's super edgy, and I'm talking about handicapped people, and I'm talking about assaulting women, and it's so edgy. I'm like, yeah, but there's no punchline. So right. I think you have to be funny. You have to be funny. Dave Chappelle says the same thing you were talking about, that Jeselnik said. He said, they say, where's the line? And Dave Chappelle says, there's no line as long as it's funny.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So I love it. I love what Tony Hinchcliffe is doing. I just wish that it wouldn't create this backlash of also unfunny people that are like too edgy as a response to the unfunny woke people. It's like, I don't care if you're woke and I don't care if you're edgy, but you have to be funny. You have to be funny.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about punk rock music. Like if you are ugly and loud, it doesn't make you good.
Exactly. So yeah, I love it. I love dark humor.
We're gonna
I
get
love all
letters
humor.
now that are spray painted from punk rockers because of me.
So this realm of meditation, like you wrote a book about meditation, and in my mind, that's a realm of calm, centered, quiet. And here we are talking about dark comedy, pushing boundaries, edgy. Where is the eye of your storm as a living human on this planet?
Greg, I have no idea what that question means.
Like, what I'm thinking is you have two opposing elements that it seems to me you live on a daily basis. You have this realm of meditation and calm and peace. You also have this realm of comedy, which is very, in my mind, kind of a revolt, a revolution. It's usurping norms and challenging things. So how do you stay balanced in these two juxtapositions?
Yeah, I don't think they're juxtaposed at all. I think that, I think there's this stereotype of the tortured artist, right? But it's not really true. Like I would get that a lot. I remember I was actually at the Comedy Store, and I came up and there was a bunch of like Mark punky looking like angsty comics, and they were like standing in a circle, chain smoking cigarettes, right? And no one ever thinks I'm a comic. Everyone always thinks I'm like a girlfriend or something, right? So they go, oh, is your boyfriend here to do stand-up? I said, no, I'm a comic. And one guy came up to me, he goes, well, you don't seem like a comic. I said, well, why don't I seem like a comic? He goes, because you're like bubbly and happy. You don't seem depressed enough to be a comic. And I go, and he goes, you don't seem like you'd be funny. I said, okay, well, who looks funny to you? And he looked around the patio and he pointed to this, and this is not an insult or a gender-based racial comment or anything. I'm just communicating to you what this guy said. He pointed to this overweight Black woman and he said, she looks like she would be funny. I said, okay. So I said, have a great night. And the show went on and I had the best set of the night and completely crushed the room. And he came up to me afterwards. He goes, wow, you were really funny. I said, yeah, I'm a comedian. and this woman who I don't remember her name, and I'm not insulting her, this large Black woman who he thought was going to be hilarious was absolutely terrible. And so, comedy is a craft. It's not a talent. People think it's a talent, or you're naturally funny, or if someone looks like a class clown and they're all wacky looking, they look funny, or if someone looks like angsty and they're chain smoking cigarettes, they have something important to say. I've been doing stand-up for 24 fucking years. I know how to write a joke. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm allowed to say fuck on your podcast, but
You can.
You could say fuck on the podcast. So tell us about the craft. Like, I understand setup, punchline, string a few together to get a callback. Like, that's a really basic overview, but like dissect the concept of what it takes to create a joke.
So the concept is you say a premise, any premise you want, and you find the opposite, and that will make it fun. There's certain rules of comedy. Right. So let me think of one of my jokes. Right. So, okay. So I'll tell you my OnlyFans joke. So I have a joke. I say, oh, I just started doing OnlyFans. And, my girlfriend said, Rosie, that's disgusting. What if my husband follows you on OnlyFans? I said, don't worry. I don't want to take your husband. I want to take your money. Right. So the joke is, the setup is I'm on OnlyFans and this woman is worried I'm going to, go after her husband. So the twist is I don't want your husband, I want your money. So you just, a punchline is just merely a twist on, it's a misdirection, right? And comedy is about releasing energy. So people, when you do the setup, people are bracing for something, right? Like a roller coaster ride. And then when you do the punchline, it's a release. It's a release of that energy. So you release it by twisting whatever they thought the joke was, right? So I have a tag for that joke as well. I say, she goes, well, what does your husband think of your OnlyFans? I go, my husband's very supportive. He wants me to take your money too. Right? So So you just do something unexpected, not what the person is thinking. And that's what creates the punchline. And
It's just like good sex.
exactly. Like, I didn't think that finger was going to go there. Ooh.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, right? So that's all
I
it is.
love
It's
it.
very,
So
it's very simple.
I'm gonna
You just
try
have
it.
to do it over and over and over again until you get it right. And that's why I think this world of filming comedy is very bad for comedy. People go to the comedy club and they have their phone out and they film their comic in action. Because usually when you see a comic at a comedy club, the joke's not ready yet. When you see their special, the joke's ready.
Right.
right.
Yeah. So are you working on any specials right now?
I'm working on a bunch of new material. I shot my special in when was COVID over? 2022?
Yeah.
About there.
2022. And
Unless some people, it's still not over. And they'll tell you through their masks that it's still not over.
And their hand sanitizer. So whenever COVID ended, I shot my special. It's okay. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't great. We were coming out of COVID, and I didn't perform for the 2 years of COVID. We did Zoom shows, which were terrible. And so I was really rusty. And it was a very awkward environment, meaning that we were still coming out of COVID. So if you watch my comedy special, half the crowd has masks on. And it sounds cheesy, but it killed the vibe. It's like people felt so uncomfortable being there because we were just getting back to real life. And so half of the audience just stiff with COVID masks. And I'm a little awkward because even though I've been doing stand-up for so long, I hadn't performed in 2 years because we were locked up in our cages. So it's not a great special. So I started immediately writing more material as soon as I got done. So we'll see.
And so you're on that path now. You're working on your next special.
I'm on my war path. The material is much darker. I talk about my dad's death. I talk about COVID. I talk about this crazy woke culture and make fun of it. I talk about all sorts of things that I don't know if it will be relevant in 5 minutes. I mean, that's so scary too as a comic. Is the news cycle and the information cycle is so fast that I could write a joke now that would take me 6 months to develop, and it's out of touch,
Yeah.
by the time I record it.
It seems like that for musicians, a lot of what gets you booked is your social media following and what your numbers are there. Does that also ring true for you in terms of comedy clubs and bookings?
100%. And that's the new thing that I understand completely from a comedy club's perspective, but I hate so much. It's awful. It's awful. I was at the Irvine Improv. I saw the manager. I said, "Hey, who's this guy, coming here? I've never heard of him." And he said, "Oh, he's a YouTube comic." I said, "Oh, was he funny?" And the manager said, "No, he's horrible, but he packs the crowd."
Wow. Oh, that's
Wow.
crazy.
Butts in seats, drinks in hands.
Exactly. It's a business, right? So if some
Right.
YouTube comedian who, pulls, birds out of his butt gets people in seats, no one cares.
Yeah. Live from the comedy club on my OnlyFans routine.
Well, so I do see a lot of comics posting crowd work because then they're not giving away their routine.
Yeah,
and
they're
yet
not burning through
still-
the content.
Right. And they're still creating social media content. Is that something you're practicing as well?
It's not. I'm not great at crowd work, but I actually think, Greg, what you're seeing is because of social media, and it's terrible. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people don't know what comedy is. They're learning about comedy. They're young, Gen Zers, whatever. And they're expecting now to go see a crowd work comic when the comic may have 30 minutes of material that they didn't post on their page because they don't want to burn through it. And so what I've noticed, unprecedented, is that people are heckling more. They're disturbing the show more because they think that it's part of the show because they see these, crowd work comics. And a lot of crowd work comics aren't crowd work comics. They're just posting it because they don't want to burn through their solid material before they shoot a special.
Right. Or they're out on the road, and if you buy a ticket and you've already what? Yeah. So did you see that Joan Rivers documentary where the guy's yelling at her about?
Yeah. He's she makes fun of a handicap or something. Yeah.
Right. So what I appreciated is her professionalism and getting the crowd back was all that was important to her, and she did it, and she was really happy with herself. Do you have that experience for yourself in this new world you're talking about with expectations and woke? And it seems like there's a lot of challenges for you as a stand-up comic to hold ground.
Yeah, I think for sure. I just did a show that was probably one of the worst shows I've had in 24 years of doing stand-up, Greg. And it was exactly because of what you said. The crowd was heckling, they were being disrespectful, they thought they were helping the show. And I was like, I was contracted to do 30 minutes and I did my full 30, but it was definitely combat comedy. And I'm glad you mentioned Joan, because she is one of my idols. I actually met her before she died. Thank God. And that performance that I saw really changed my life. And I saw how lazy I was as a comedian and how lazy most comedians are. She was on stage, full regalia, 4-inch high heels and pearls.
Right.
And she was the master craftsman. I used to do jokes where I would do setup, punchline, maybe a callback. Joan would do setup, punchline, act out, callback, move on to the next joke, setup, punchline, act out, callback, another callback to the other joke, tie it all in. And it was like every single piece of her act was so masterfully crafted. And then even if you heckled her or someone said something, she would pull it all back in. So it was like this multiple level of compulsive orgasm laughter.
Right,
where you're just like, man. And when I watched her do that, I completely changed my stand-up, because I was, like I said, I wanted to be like this edgy, dark comic. And I was very much like, I want my material to stand out. So I was very focused on material. And when I saw Joan doing that, when did I see her? Maybe 2000, I don't know. I don't remember when she passed away, and I don't want to mess up the timeline, but it was like 2 years before she passed. And I was like, to see her she did an act out where she pushed her, someone down a ramp in a wheelchair, and she was walking around on the stage with a fake improvised wheelchair. And I used to really, really look down on comedians that were very physical and that would do act out. I was like, oh, it's a gimmick. They're being too physical. They're not relying on their material. Like, I was like a snobby materialist purist. And when I saw Joan do such a masterful act out to tie everything in, I was like, okay, maybe I'm being too snobbish. If the queen herself is doing a 5-minute act out on stage, maybe I'm being too much of a snob. And so she really helped me expand what I saw and realize, I had material that I had been doing for years that was like a 30-second joke that I turned it into a 2-minute joke by watching her. She would make a 30-second setup punchline and turn it into a 2 to 5 minute bit by adding the callback, adding the act out, adding the additional callback. Right. So she was really the master of the craft, and just absolutely amazing, Greg. And to see her live was like, I'm like, okay, I am lazy. I am a lazy comedian. She is like milking this.
Yeah. It's amazing when you see masters of the craft. You're just like in awe, like you're saying.
Oh my God, she was amazing. In heels and pearls and a feather boa.
Well, and also I love in that documentary where she's got this filing cabinet with thousands of jokes. And like you're talking about weaving, depending on what she was called to do, she'd pull the like threads, and create this tapestry that she would perform on stage.
So who are her peers who are her peers in your eyes?
Her peers? Like her equals?
Well, equals a tough one because there's no other Joan, right? But what I mean by that is there's this level of craft that you're talking about and the anti-lazy comedian ethic. So who else besides Joan do you see it reaches that level?
You mean now? Like a current working comedian?
Yeah, for sure. Or earlier, now, whatever occurs to you.
This is super controversial for me to say as a woman and a minority, but I love Dave Chappelle.
Right.
I love Chappelle. I think he's
We're
so
big fans.
good. I think he's very thoughtful. I don't know why he became like the anti-comedian. I think he's the comedian's comedian. I don't understand why he became controversial. I don't understand why he became offensive. I don't understand it. maybe I'm so old school. Maybe I think I came up at the edge of the old stand-up world because social media really wasn't a thing when I started in 2002. And so I'm part of that old school mindset, I think. And I don't understand. I don't understand these TikTok comedians. I mean, I sound like such an old lady. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand why Dave Chappelle's considered offensive. I don't get it. I don't understand.
It eventually happens to all of us if you live long enough.
No,
Like,
it doesn't.
on? I'm like, what is happening? Why is he considered offensive? I don't get it.
Well, I think when he started punching down, up, sideways with trans people, that hit a nerve, because I think most of American white males are transphobic because deep down they've always wanted to know what it felt like to get penetrated.
That's a little dark. Okay.
I'm glad you're laughing, Rose,
Hilarious.
because that was a tough joke to pull off.
That was wonderful and hilarious. All white males want to bend over and get pegged by me, a little Asian girl.
Yeah.
Am I allowed
And
to
they're
say pegged on this
uncomfortable admitting
podcast?
Yep. A big black strap on a little Rosie.
Or
Oh,
even
can
better,
you
you're a
imagine that?
unicorn, so hey.
You guys didn't know we were going to go there today, did you?
Oh, we knew when we started with OnlyFans.
And we're so grateful.
I love it. I love Dave Chappelle. I think so. I was on a panel during COVID. It was supposed to be a some type of like ethical minority justice panel, whatever. And it was about Asians in comedy. And of course I'm an Asian and I'm in comedy. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was the panel.
You're a unicorn again.
Well, it was all other Asians in comedy. I was the only stand-up. Most of them were comedic actors. And the type of stuff they were saying, it really made me sick to my stomach. You know, they were saying, you know, you can't make fun of anyone. You can't make fun of Asians unless you're Asian. So I don't agree with that. I think you can punch down, up, sideways, over, and around as long as it's funny. If it's funny and it doesn't come from a hateful place, it's fine. And part of comedy is making fun of every race, ethnicity, gender, so to see that we're all the same. We can all be made fun of. We can all get, you know, that's what roasting is about, right? Roasting is about, I'm going to make fun of all of your weaknesses because we're all human. And I think some of these people are missing the point of comedy. They're missing the point that we're all the same. When we're sitting in a dark room laughing at some really dark, horrible stuff, we're all the same. It doesn't matter. And so I think you should be able to punch down, out, around, under, over, and at yourself, as long as it's funny and it's not coming from a really, really hateful, you know, racist, dark place. And, you know, when Dave was talking about trans people, the entire bit is about his best friend who is trans. So it makes no sense whatsoever when he's trying to honor his friend that he was punching down. So I just think some of these people are looking for something to get offended by. And if you're looking for something to get offended by, then you don't understand what comedy is. You just don't understand what it is.
Yeah. Like, why'd you even go? Why'd you even go participate?
Yeah.
So have you done any roast battles?
I am the worst roaster in the world. I'm too nice.
Well, I want to roast with you.
I'm too nice.
Let's give you a shot. Like, this is your chance. Like, you get 30 seconds to roast Greg and then 30 seconds to
no, I
me.
can't. I
We'll
can't
give you a
even do
little
it.
practice.
I'm really the worst roaster, Mark. I'm too nice. I feel too bad. So I will tell you guys a quick story that has to do with this since we're talking about pegging. So as I told you, my ex cheated on me with a dominatrix, right? And I was 19 years old and I was like, okay, what is this all about? I was like, what is this all about? Right. So I wanted to know. So I posted an ad on Craigslist to be a dominatrix. And I was a dominatrix for 6 months. And the reason I quit was because I was too nice. I felt too bad.
Oh, that's crazy. That is nuts. That is so funny.
I felt so bad beating these poor guys up. And Mark, you're joking, but they were all old white guys.
Oh, God.
And some of them did want me to shove something, and I was too scared.
Like, no, I can't. It might hurt you.
But
So,
two
Rosie, are you
of my clients did tell me I was the best dominatrix they ever had, which I don't know how that happened because I was terrible. I was like,
They didn't want to hurt your feelings.
No, I think they were being serious. I would get into character. I took it as an acting role, so that's
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it. So could you be in an acting role as a roaster?
Maybe, but I would need lines fed to me. I've had people write roast jokes for me. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I am a good roast comedian, but I'm not a good. What I mean by that is because I'm really cute. Because I'm really like cute and bubbly and sweet. It kind of, I think it cuts more when I say it, because people can kind of like feel my energy is like positive, and then when I say it, it's like a little bit meaner. But I don't like doing it, and I feel so bad.
So do you think there's something in it for women that do pegging? Like, what's in it for the woman?
I mean, probably power. I didn't feel power. I've done it twice. I didn't feel powerful when I did it because I felt bad. But I don't have power issues, so.
Got it.
But I feel like a woman that did have power issues, it would feel really good to like, yeah, get in there.
I'm in control.
Yeah.
Got it. Understood. And the conversation fell flat.
No, it didn't. We took a breath.
We're taking a break, Mark. Sometimes after you peg someone, you need to decompress. It's intense.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know. I
I
personally wouldn't know, but maybe I want to know.
That's what he says, but there's like 4 phallic things behind his head. So
I know, right?
Are those candles or dildos? I don't know.
Don't tell my wife. Well, you were talking about you were working on your new special. And to me, when I think of myself, who is not a comedian, I think of a special. I'm like, does it help to have a theme? Is there like a core idea behind the special? Or is it just the idea of let's create a series of funny callbacks, act outs, and jokes? What is there something in the way you're approaching it that you can share with us?
No, the only thing I would say is that the material is much more vulnerable. It's much more difficult content. You know, I talk about my dad dying. I make fun of that. And that was, I think, the most vulnerable I've ever been in my stand-up. And it was so hard. It's funny now. The material is funny now. But the first, I started talking about his death about 4 months after he died. And it's so funny because the audience can smell fear. And I think that the audience could smell that I wasn't confident in the material yet. And I mean, the joke is structurally the same. The jokes about his death are structurally the same as when I started them. And they haven't been tweaked that much, but my confidence level telling them is so much stronger now. Because when I first started telling them, I was really sheepish about it because it was so uncomfortable. It's such an uncomfortable topic. Yeah. And it was so raw still. And it wasn't until I did this bar show in Orange County and I was doing some death material about him. The bartender came up to me after the show and she gave me a big hug and she was crying. And she said, you know, my mom just died. Thank you. Thank you for bringing some lightness to such a heavy topic. She goes, I really, really resonated with everything you talked about. And I was like, okay, I'm on the right path. And so I started to kind of double down on the death stuff. And it's really weird because sometimes older people really, really love the death stuff. But I did a show and the crowd was mostly old. And I think I hit, it was too close to home.
Well, I wonder, because I was just at a one of those apartment complexes for elderly where there's help involved. You know, I forget what they're called, but semi-retirement living. Anyway, and talking with this woman in her late 80s. And I asked her about death, and she said, yeah, someone passes away once a week. It's just commonplace. So I wonder is it potential that your own thoughts about the audience and death short-circuited the flow of comedy at that performance?
It's possible, but I've performed it for older audiences before, and it's very hit or miss. It's very hit. People are either dying laughing about it, or they're cross their arms and they're you shouldn't talk about it. I think I'm assuming that they're lack of laughter because the jokes are pretty funny. I've toasted them, but I think for sure my confidence level has made them funnier because for sure the first year that I did that death material, it was tough. So for me, and I think the audience felt that. They were like, oh, she looks a little uncomfortable. Because I think when you do darker material or where you do something that's a little edgier, a little personal, the audience wants to know that you're okay, that you're you know, okay with the
That it
punchline,
really is
especially
funny.
if you're making fun of yourself. And it can, if you go into an area that the line is, if it's too sad, you know, and you've probably seen this, right? You've gone to a show and maybe a comedian talks about something that's too depressing. Instead of a laugh, the audience will go, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh." So you want to make sure that you're projecting as a comedian, hey, this is sad, but I'm okay with it. And I think the first year or two that I was talking about my dad's death, I think the audience could feel subconsciously I wasn't okay with it because I wasn't.
Well, you're also now talking about crafting something over a period of a year or two. So
Yeah.
do you think that your decades in this has given you the confidence, like, okay, there is something here and it's going to be a long journey and I'm okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a process. Like when I first, so one of the biggest, most vulnerable material that I started with was, for years, I did a lot of dick jokes and kind of like edgy dick jokes. And then the first real material that I talked about that was still dick jokes, but really vulnerable, was talking about my gay brother coming out of the closet. And that was so, and I know it's like, there's like so many gay people, no one cares. But for me, it was very tough because it was such a secret in my family. And it was such a, coming from a conservative immigrant family, it was such a shame. And it was such a emotional turning point when he came out of the closet because, me and my sister thought my dad was going to disown my brother. And there was so much fear and anxiety around it that it was very scary for me to talk about. And the first like 6 months that I talked about my brother on stage and talked about him being gay, I was so scared. I don't know why, it was so silly, but I was so scared about it. And once I got over that hump, I think now, this was years ago, now I'm okay doing vulnerable material, but it's still like, is always scary, right? You're like, if people don't laugh at it, you're like, okay, this isn't just a joke. This
Right.
is my life, guys.
Mm. Yeah.
So has comedy been a healing balm in your family?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I think that comedy is a healing balm for me. I don't think my mom's only seen me do stand-up twice, and I think I bombed one time in front of her, like really bad.
Ooh.
She doesn't know what this is. She's like, what is this? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, my
It's like,
sister's
why
are
would anybody
supportive.
subject themselves to this? Like,
She doesn't get it. She's super proper. She's very old school. She doesn't
Mm.
even think women should laugh out loud. Like when I'm a loud laugher. Like I'm like, whenever I laugh loud at a restaurant, she'll be like, shh, Rosie, that's so rude. So she's a very proper, like clutching her pearls type of woman. So she's like,
When
what
we
are
were-
you doing?
when we were looking at your website in preparation for the call, one of the things I noticed is this initiative you have called Rosie Tran Presents. And I'm not sure whether that's aged out or that's still an active purchase thing. What was or is that in your career right now?
Yeah, so it's my show on Tubi. It's on Tubi and Amazon Prime. You guys can watch it. And it's a 10-episode series of the funniest comics that I know in different categories. So the first 2 episodes is Rosie Tran Presents Bad Asians. And that was kind of the core of the idea of the show. And I wanted to show bad Asians because I was sick of the kind of model minority stereotype of this like traditional kind of like submissive Asian person. So my first episode is Aiden Park, who's one of my best friends. He is a Korean illegal immigrant, gay, HIV positive comedian. And he's so great. He's so funny. And, he talks about that. He's very similar to me. He's very edgy and like talks about all sorts of stuff. And he goes and tours in like Montana where it's like all white and conservative. And they just think he's going to be like this. They have a when you are a gay, Asian, HIV positive male, there's a stereotype about what you're going to be, right? A little bit. And so he goes to these like rural parts of Montana and Colorado and New Mexico and perform stand-up, and they love him. They absolutely love him. And he's got this like army of like veteran soldiers, like straight male veteran soldiers that love him. And he's just great. And so I just wanted to show people that you can look different and actually absolutely have the same values, or have on paper be different than someone and absolutely have the same values. So
And still be funny.
and still be hilarious. Exactly. So
Right.
I just showcase all different types of comedians from all walks of life. I have international comedy, Latin comedy, Wicked Women, which is hot, funny women over 40, So it's just me showcasing my best, most hilarious people that I know that might not look or talk like everyone that you see. It's
Are
free
you
on
planning
TV
to
with
do
us.
more?
Yeah, I definitely want to do a season 2, but to do a season 2, I need people to watch season 1 and leave positive comments so we can get a season 2.
Okay, so we'll put a link to that in the show notes. If you're watching the show, please go to Rosie Tran's Presents on Tubi and watch the shows and leave your comments. Whatever the comments are, just tell the truth.
Yeah, you
That's
can leave negative comments too. It doesn't
No.
matter. It makes the algorithm go up.
All right.
Leave
Ah,
negative
this
comments. Be
day
a
and
hater.
age
I
of-
don't care.
I'm floored. I don't
Yeah,
know what to say after that.
Well, it does show this age we live in where algorithms are like tantamount. They're the gatekeeper now, an algorithm.
Yeah. Which brings up, how do you feel about AI? Do you think AI is going to take your job?
No, I don't think AI is going to take my job. I love AI, and I think people that are against AI are being silly. I think AI is great. I think that it's new and it has its issues. And people were worried about the internet like 20 years ago. Oh, it's going to be all porn. It's all going to be pedophiles. And yeah, that's a sad corner of the internet, unfortunately. But the internet also has created so many amazing things. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if it weren't for the internet. We wouldn't be learning about, how to whatever plants. There's like a YouTube channel for everything. How to make a sock puppet. I don't know. So I just think that we shouldn't be afraid of technology. I think, people are so worried about Terminator happening or whatever. And it's just a paranoid fantasy. I think that I'm very pro technology. I'm very pro the future. And, people are so worried about jobs being taken away. Well, new jobs get created, and where we have more time for creative things. I just think that there's a extremely pessimistic wave that came from, the last 15 years with COVID, with 9/11, with all the constant wars. Like there's this constant barrage, and I just think we live in an amazing time, and there's so many things to be positive for. And even when new things come and bad things come from them, other good things come too. And it's just an extremely pessimistic view to think that we're falling into this abyss of this we're in this late stage capitalism, the world's going to collapse. I just think that's just insanely pessimistic. I'm here with Greg and Mark, and we're talking about pegging people. This is great.
Yeah, so comedy AI is not going to take your job.
It's not. And I've asked AI to write jokes for me, and they were terrible. So
got it. Yeah. So besides the Tubi show and the appearances you've got coming up, what kind of aspirations do you have about the next chapter of your career?
I just want to keep making people laugh. I would love to keep doing, seasons of Rosie Tran Presents and bringing hilarious people. I just signed Rosie Tran Presents with a touring agent, so I hope to bring my show and my comics to different, stages around the country and around the world. And my message is to make people laugh. I think we live in such a divisive time and such a weird time right now where people are just not understanding. I think it's the best time to be alive because this is what we have. And I think that, go out and laugh, go out and meet someone different, go and talk to someone of a different race, ethnicity, gender, political affiliation, talk to them, listen to them. I think we're, for lack of a better word, all pretty similar, and all these superficial differences. It's been scientifically proven. It's just the algorithm rage baiting and clickbaiting people to make you hate your neighbor. And your neighbor is probably not that bad of a guy, even if he's, an old white guy. You guys are like, wait a minute. Yeah. No, I think that it's a great time. And I think that there's amazing things that are happening. And I think it's sad that there's so much, divisiveness and negativity and offensiveness and people getting offended at things. And it's fake outrage.
So what you said was you want to keep making people laugh. And it sounds like you want to improve comedy and get us past this dark era. But is there anything like a show, a movie, an aspiration of yours beyond the norm, that secret thing you don't want to tell anyone that you desperately want to do?
There's no secret deep dark thing. I need 5 more sugar daddies on OnlyFans to make my financial goal this month. So if any old rich white guys want to follow me, You will see.
All right, we'll put the link to that as well in the show notes, so that
you'll see some PG-17, middle-aged partial boobies.
Okay. Underboob, I think is how.
Yeah. I don't do full nude, so you'll see some underboob, and you'll see my sagging sides. But I need five more sugar daddies on OnlyFans, and I need people to go on Tubi and watch Rosie Tran Presents so I can get another season. And that's it. Just making more content. I mean, I don't know, Mark. I don't have any secret. All this is a lot of work.
I know.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's part of my arsenal of questions that helps move the story along as we do these things to get someone
I thought you guys were going to push my boundaries. I don't feel any boundaries pushed. Come on, guys.
Well, you're just an international unicorn who doesn't have any hardcore boundaries that we want to go to yet. I mean, pegging's pretty good. Like at that point, like how far do you want to go? I could ask you about your personal life. I don't feel inclined. Like I don't need to know. I don't need to know everything about a talented performing artist. It's not in my nature to want to penetrate the mystery that much.
I was just that was my roast. That was my see how bad I am at roasting? That was my roast.
It was good. I felt uncomfortable.
Good. Yay!
You heard me defend myself.
Yay, I'm a good roaster. No, I'm a terrible roaster. That was sad. That was a sad attempt.
So that's the deep dark secret, that you want to get better at being a roaster.
No, I think it's so mean. I love roasting, and I as far as an art form, and I respect comedians that roast, but I'm too nice. Even one of my friends, Earl Skakel, had a podcast for many years, Inappropriate Earl, where he would make the girls really uncomfortable and stuff. And I said, I want to do your podcast, and he goes, no, I don't want you to do it. You're too nice. I don't want to make you feel bad. So it's like people in comedy like kind of know, like, they're like, oh, Rosie's too nice. Like I think I was asked to do a roast, and then they were like, no, she's too nice. Like they felt bad. Like they felt bad for me.
Got it. I think I'm a part of your kin. Like I'm not good at roasting myself either.
I do have a quick roasting story for you guys, though, if you want to hear a roasting story.
Oh yeah.
So I was lucky enough to open for the great Gilbert Gottfried in Ohio, and he is a king roaster. And I had asked him, I said, have you ever had a roast go wrong? And he said yes. And he told me his worst roast story, which I'll tell you guys in your audience if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
love
sure.
So Gilbert said that he was hired for a corporate gig, and he would roast people. Everyone knows he's a roaster, right? So he was hired for a corporate gig to roast the CEO of the company, the owner of the company. And he goes, well, can you guys tell me about the company, so I can write some roast jokes? And they're like, yeah, he's really old and he loves being roasted about being old. And he's like, are you sure? Because I really like to make sure that everyone, I get everyone's permission, and I'm going to really go at it. I'm going to really, really go at it. And they go, oh yeah. And so he's like, okay. He goes, I only will roast people on what they feel comfortable. And so his wife and the people of the company said, yeah, he loves jokes about being old. If you could really just give it to him. Oh, he's so old and he's so haggard and this and that. And Gilbert's like, okay. He's like, I'm really going to go for it. I'm really going to go for it. You guys have watched my material. You know what type of material I do. They go, oh yeah, he loves it. He laughs about it. He loves it. He loves it. So Gilbert prepared about 15 minutes of absolute destructive, you're old, you're haggard, you're worthless material. He gets up there and he does all the material. Dead silence for 15 minutes. After the set, they bring the owner of the company, the CEO of the company, they wheel him up. He's in a wheelchair, and he's basically like partially like in.
Oh dear.
And Gilbert was like, he said he just felt so mortified, but it was their fault. He had asked them what type of material.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever seen the documentary The Aristocrats?
I have. Yeah.
So that Gilbert Gottfried bit at the Playboy roast, the Hugh Hefner roast, where he does the 9/11 joke and it bombs. Yeah. So then he goes into the famous. That was
Aristocrats, yeah.
I love
but I mean, it happens. You have to know what you're getting when someone roasts you. And he said he asked them multiple times, "Are you guys sure? Are you guys sure?" And they said, "Yeah. He loves it. He loves it." And it was just it was just dead silence. They wheel the guy out in a wheelchair. He's like basically like on his deathbed, like drooling, like. And Gilbert was like,
well, he could have been laughing inside hilariously. We just wouldn't notice.
No, it's,
Gilbert was like, I was mortified. He said, I was mortified. He goes, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I was like, give me my check and let me get the heck out of here.
wow.
That's brutal.
So some people don't understand comedy. They don't understand that roasting is some people, they go, oh yeah. They don't get it. They don't get the dynamic of it. They don't get that maybe sometimes when you're teasing someone and it's coming from a friend, it's different than a professional comedian who's just gonna.
Right.
One of the things that I think is so interesting is Sacha Baron Cohen's brand of deceptive humor.
Oh yeah,
right?
I love him. He's hilarious.
And
he kind of fell off. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, he became a dramatic actor.
Oh, okay.
Because he's got the chops, like pulling off all those roles. What do we find? Well, underneath this acerbic sort of weird, like willingness to poke the bear, there's this really talented dramatic actor, right? He had to be an actor to pull that off.
Well, the comedy comes from him never breaking character, right? It's funny because he's so committed to those characters.
Right.
Ali G and his other Borat and everything.
Yeah. I was in a film production. I was behind the scenes in a film production with the guy who played his manager in Borat, the first one. I forget the gentleman's name. And we did a prank on the set, and people were getting upset, and I turned the camera off, and the guy said to me, "Don't ever turn the camera off. Just never turn the camera off."
Right.
That was my lesson learned. Like how part of, like for I forget his name now, the Borat guy. Anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen, it's not just him who has to be willing to be uncomfortable. Like everyone involved is entering this place where they got
this world. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what our life is like. Like if we could teach the hecklers and the people that are like too sensitive about comedy, it's all about being willing to tolerate your discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And see it through. Like just move through the moment. There's something waiting for you at the end. And if it's a pie in your face, we hope that it's not shaving cream.
I know you always want the whipped cream pie, so then you can go.
Yeah. Nobody wants the shaving cream.
Exactly.
Do that again on your OnlyFans.
I was on a hidden camera show too, Greg. It never got released. It was a pilot, and they did not turn off the camera. But I was scared it was going to escalate. It was me. I was with my friend. I was punking my friend. He's no longer with us. He passed. But he was a big black guy, and the waiter was saying racially charged things to us, and I had to keep my face, like pretending to be offended, even though I wanted to laugh so badly. And he was getting really mad, and they had to cut the sketch because they thought he was going to punch the waiter out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you retain ownership of your content? Like, could you release stuff on your YouTube channel if it doesn't get picked up?
That I don't have a copy of that sketch, but I think for that show, I wouldn't have ownership of it, but it depends on the content. So Rosie Tran Presents, I own because it's my show that I create.
Okay. Is that something you consciously? We just lost our internet.
No, she's still here.
Okay, it's my internet then.
Yeah, getting weird.
Greg didn't pay his Wi-Fi bill.
So I think Greg was going to ask, is that something you consciously look for? Like we know Prince wanted to get his master's and that was a really important piece for him. Do you consciously look for deals now that are where you get to retain more rights?
Well, that's why I wanted to produce my second comedy special myself, the one that I'm working on right now, because I don't know, I didn't realize, because stand-up is a very individual thing, right? It's not sketch. You're not part of a sketch group. It's not a band. You're not part of a music group. You're just yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so different than like working on a film or working on a project, which is so insanely collaborative and you give up so much. It's like, I write my material, I book my own shows. It's so individualistic. And I didn't realize, I think, how powerless I would feel when I shot my special, because I was hired. It wasn't something I produced. I was hired by NBC, Peacock, it ended up on NBC Peacock, and I was hired by the production company, and I didn't like some of the ways the edits came out, especially because, like I said, we were during COVID and everyone had COVID masks on, and I had such a better performance than what was released as a special. Like, it kind of looks like I'm bombing actually in some of my special because of the COVID mask, because people are covered up and you can't see them laughing. So something that they do during a comedy special is they shoot my material and they cut to the audience. Well, when the audience is just sitting here like this, it really, believe it or not, it really takes away, even if the joke is funny, like you could hear me saying a funny joke, it takes away from, it's weird, it takes away from the experience.
There's this aspect of humor that is transferred to each other. It's like when someone laughs next to us, we get a little bit more permission to laugh harder ourselves. There's this infectious nature of it.
Exactly. So it doesn't look like I'm doing that well on my own special. And even though I had a great, in studio when we shot it, everyone was laughing, but the camera flattens it, and then cutting to people wearing COVID masks flattens it. So I wasn't happy about that. And to answer your original question, I felt very powerless, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that I didn't have control over the final cut. I didn't like that NBC and everyone had control. I didn't like it. So that's why I want to shoot my next special myself.
Do you think money could buy you out of that option, or do you think you will always retain like executive producer, final cut elements in your contracts?
Yeah, I don't care about money. I know that sounds weird, but regarding stand-up is, it was such a painful, I was so upset by my first comedy special and that feeling of not being able to control my own material that I did think about quitting after my first special. I was like, it took me 18 years to get a comedy special, and I got one finally, and I'm not happy with it. Like, it was such a anticlimactic feeling to see the final cut when they sent me an initial cut, and then they sent me a final cut, and I was like, wow, this is really disappointing. I was like, maybe I suck. I mean, it made me question like everything I've been doing. I was like, maybe I suck, maybe I'm terrible. But it wasn't that. It was the edit. It was because everyone had a COVID mask on it on a comedy special. Like, it doesn't look like people are laughing. It's just really bizarre.
That just reminds me, do you ever see that 70s movie, All That Jazz, about Bob Fosse?
I haven't seen that. Everything you referenced, I've seen. I feel bad I haven't seen this one.
Okay. Well, Bob Fosse actually directed it, created it. There's this bit where he's editing a stand-up special, and the money people are telling him, you got to hurry up, finish this cut. Throughout the movie, like, they show it 3 times, and every edit, it was better. And I was amazed, like, that was such a cool thing to put into a film where you just see this editing process. But it does speak to that, how editing is tantamount to the level of mastery of a finished piece. It's
so tantamount. It was a completely different special. What I experienced when I shot it was like a great special. When the editing process came out, and it 100% had to do with COVID. It had to do with the fact that they panned to a crowd that looked like they were laughing at me. I don't know what else to say.
Right. And you as an artist, like, you're experienced heartbreak in essence. Like, you, after almost 20 years, thought of throwing this whole thing out the window. That's, well, I'm glad you didn't.
I'm glad I didn't either, but it was so heartbreaking for me. I just felt like if this was 18 years of my work and it wasn't that great, I just felt like, oh, well, maybe I suck. I'm a mediocre comic and I've been delusional this whole time. And, my husband, who's watched me perform maybe like 2,000 plus times, because he comes to a lot of my shows, he said, no, it's a bad edit. And I watched it again, and this was one of the first, not just performances, one of the first outings that many of these people had gone to post being quarantined. Right. So there was a level, and I had people tell me like, oh, I felt really scared to be there, to be at your taping. I came to your taping to support you, but I felt scared to be there. And I think that translates very well. You can feel it when they pan to the crowd. The crowd looks somewhat physically uncomfortable.
Like you're at a comedy show and they pan to you and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awful. Well,
It's yeah.
the
So don't
future
do comedy
looks bright.
specials after COVID.
Yeah. So let's hope we don't have another COVID. Ooh. Yeah. Do you know any good Ebola jokes?
That's back in the news.
Oh no.
Back by popular demand.
Yay. I think this is a once in a lifetime thing. What was the last one? Like 1910 or something? I think it's like 100-year thing that like a new super virus comes and, you know, we all have immunity now. So hopefully.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've heard about the future. We've heard about the past. We definitely have heard your voice in this experience. What a treat it has been to have you. And I'm looking for great things. Like my sense of you is you have yet to reach your pinnacle and that it's coming. So let's, yeah. And as we wind this up, Greg and I have one question that we like to ask all our guests. And it's kind of a serious question to us, but it's in some ways it's sort of frivolous when you hear it, but we love getting the reaction and there's no wrong answer.
All right, I'm ready. Drum roll.
All right. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Oh, easy. Foo Fighters.
All right. That was easy. Damn.
Okay. You want to say why?
Because they're a better band. I don't know.
Ooh, she threw down the gauntlet. They're a better band.
All right. When M releases his diss track against Rosie Tran, you know.
So no more anti-Kim. It's going to be anti-Rosie.
Yeah. That's it. You invited it. You invited the heat. You talked about roast battles. Well,
I was thinking it because it was maybe Dave was one of those clients that when you used to be a dominatrix. Maybe
no, but I have a famous client, and I will tell you after we're not recording anymore.
okay.
Okay. Well, for those of you who won't be here for that,
I don't get super
we don't seek lawsuits or to destroy anyone's reputation on this show.
Whoa,
it's
whoa,
all
whoa,
for
whoa,
fun.
whoa! You have to tell me why the question.
That
was the question.
I know
Eminem
why.
or Foo Fighters.
You guys said you have a reason, and then you didn't tell me the reason.
Oh.
Tradition. That's it.
Oh.
Well, that's his reason. I like hearing people's answers myself and comparing it to like thinking about it and all of that. And
was my answer too boring?
Well, like I said, there's no wrong answer. We've had really straightforward, just because I like them. Like it runs the gamut. And so there wasn't that it was too boring. It was so clear. Like there was no hesitation. It's like flat out Foo Fighters. So yeah. And
okay.
Sometimes we talk about how we secretly want them to do a collab.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters all the way. All right. Well, it's been a great ride with you, Rosie, and you clearly are so much fun to hang out with. And it's been a privilege having an actual OnlyFans unicorn on the show.
I can guarantee you that no girl on OnlyFans has my exact history.
Thank God.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
See you soon.
Yay!
Recording stopped.